Everyone knows Persepolis was built by slaves. The evidence says otherwise. For centuries, historians repeated the same claim. Darius the Great enslaved populations across his empire and forced them to construct Persepolis, the ceremonial capital of ancient Persia. The narrative fit. Empires conquered. Empires enslaved. Empires built monuments on broken backs. It was tidy. It was accepted. It was wrong. The confusion started with ancient Greek writers. Herodotus, Strabo, and others documented Persian construction projects. But they wrote from outside. They wrote from hostility. They wrote from the perspective of rival empires trying to diminish Persian achievement. What they described as enslaved masses was rarely what they'd witnessed firsthand. The real story emerges from the ground itself. In the 1930s, archaeologists at Persepolis uncovered something Greek texts never mentioned: workers' graffiti. Names carved into stone, wages recorded on clay tablets. Evidence of organized labor, not coercion. Around 515 BCE, construction of Persepolis began under Darius I. The project would span decades. It required approximately 30,000 workers at peak periods, not soldiers, not prisoners of war. Skilled masons, carpenters, stonecutters, and laborers hired through a systematic wage economy. The administrative records tell the story. Cuneiform tablets found at the site document payment schedules. Workers received rations of grain, barley, and dates. They received portions of wine and beer. They received oil for lamps and leather for tools. These were not the provisions of enslaved people. These were the contracts of employed labor. Different worker categories earned different rates. Stonemasons earned more than general laborers. Skilled artisans earned premium compensation. The hierarchy reflects a functioning labor market, not chattel slavery. Workers could be replaced. Workers could demand better conditions. Workers had leverage. The empire recruited labor from across its territories. Lydians came. Egyptians came. Phoenicians came. They came because Persian wages were superior to what they could earn at home. The Achaemenid state had a reputation: work for the king and you were paid fairly. That reputation drew skilled workers voluntarily. The logistics alone required unprecedented organization. Worker camps existed on site. Archaeological surveys have identified sleeping quarters, storage facilities, and craft workshops. These weren't prison compounds. They were construction villages. Workers brought families. Children were born in these camps. People stayed for years. Seasonal variation shaped the workforce. During planting season, agricultural workers left for their fields. During harvest, they returned home. The Persian state accommodated this rhythm. Slavery doesn't flex around harvests. Slavery doesn't release workers for planting. The evidence of seasonal labor patterns is incompatible with coerced servitude. The quality of the work itself demands explanation. The reliefs at Persepolis are extraordinary. The precision of the stonework, the anatomical accuracy of carved figures, the integration of architectural elements, this level of craftsmanship emerges from pride. Enslaved workers don't carve like this. Free workers who are paid and respected do. The Greek historians knew about Persian slavery. The empire did practice slavery. But enslaved workers were typically domestic servants, agricultural laborers on estates, or military captives assigned to specific roles. They weren't the primary labor force on monumental construction. That distinction matters historically. The confusion persisted because it served a narrative. European scholars of the 19th century were uncomfortable with the idea that ancient non-Western empires could organize complex labor systems without coercion. Slavery felt more savage. Wage labor felt too modern, too rational for the ancient world. But Darius understood something modern economists recognize. Paid labor attracts talent. Paid labor produces quality. Paid labor is sustainable. The Persian Empire didn't achieve its scale and stability through brutality alone. It achieved it through systems that worked. The workers themselves left traces beyond the administrative records. Graffiti scratched into stone includes names, sometimes with notations like Master of Masons or Head of Stonecutters. These are signatures of identity. Enslaved workers don't sign their work. They're not permitted to claim it. Some workers stayed for decades. They aged on the job. They trained apprentices. They developed specialized techniques. The continuity visible in the archaeological record, the evolution of carving styles, the refinement of methods, reflects generational knowledge transfer. This happens in communities of free workers, not in rotated slave gangs. The implication reshapes how we understand ancient empires. Persia's power wasn't rooted solely in military dominance or brutal hierarchy. It was rooted in administrative capacity, in the ability to recruit, organize, and retain skilled workers through fair compensation, in the creation of systems that functioned because people chose to participate. The common laborer at Persepolis wasn't a nameless victim. He was a skilled professional with a wage, a contract, and a role in something monumental. He carved his name into the stone. He fed his family. He knew why he was there. That's the real story Greek historians never told. Subscribe to uncover the hidden lives of ordinary people who shaped civilizations, the stories empires try to erase.